Hello, my amazing viewers. Welcome back once again to Pig Farming Academy. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing about a question that most pig farmers have been asking me. I promised you guys I'll be talking about inbreeding next video, but something came up. I have to talk about this topic. Then probably tomorrow I'll talk about this inbreeding. This topic is most farmers have been asking me how I managed to reduce the cost of feeding my animals. So in this video, I'm going to share this in details about what I did to be able to maximize my profit and reduce the cost of feeding these animals, because we all can agree that feeding pigs in Nigeria and even anywhere in the world is kind of expensive. So you being able to understand certain strategies that will enable you to reduce the cost of feeding these animals is an advantage. So please listen attentively as I share these details with you guys. But before I go ahead, I would like you to do something for me. I would like you to subscribe and equally turn on the notification button of this video so that you get more updates on the next videos I will drop on the inbreeding aspect, and equally a physical video of pig feed making. I'm going to drop all those videos. Okay, so make sure you turn on the notification button of this video so you'll be able to get all these updates from me. Also, I made a WhatsApp community where pig farmers from different regions of the world drop their pig farming experience. So make sure you join this WhatsApp community. I'll be dropping the link in the description box of this video. So let me go over to the major topic of discussion, which is how I managed to reduce the cost of feeding my animals. First, I'm going to mention the individual components of my feed. The first one is the PKC, palm kernel cake. The second one is the bambara nut chaff. This bambara nut chaff is also called otuoba. I'm sure that most of you are aware of it. Then the third one is the soybeans, not just soybeans, but processed soybeans. I'm going to mention how to handle all these things. Then the fourth one is cassava, processed cassava. Then the fifth one is corn, but I don't normally add the corn often. Once I have the cassava, I interchange the two, the cassava or the corn, to reduce my cost. Then I can now add bone meal, blood meal, and then salt. This is just the major components. Then let me now go ahead to now in details to now tell you how I managed to reduce the cost. When I get the droppings from my pig farm, I don't just discard it or just use it to farm, to grow crops. No, I have to keep it in a conducive environment. The reason of this is that I need to generate maggots. I need to keep it where there will be moisture and nice humidity that will enable the maggots to grow. So once I'm able to grow out these maggots from these droppings, I can then use it to feed my fish and equally add it to the pig feed, because these maggots, when processed, washed and heated, is a very good source of protein to these pigs. So once you generate this maggot from the droppings of your pigs, don't just throw the manure away. No, generate these maggots, process it by washing it, drying it, heating it up. Then you can now use this same maggot to feed your fish. This is my fish farm. Use it to feed your fish. It's a very good source of protein, and equally add some of it to your animal that's pig feed. It's also a very good source of protein. So let me now go in details to now tell you how I process this feed. The PKC is normally dry. The palm kernel cake is normally dry. So a day to the day I'm going to give it to the animals, I have to soak it in water. This is to make it soft, to soften it, and equally make it easy for me to stir it with other ingredients. So once I soak it in water, it would make it much more palatable, yes, for them to consume. So on the day I will now feed these animals, I will have to add the other components, that's the soybeans, the cassava, the bambara nut chaff, and all those things, to the PKC I mixed the previous day. That's how I do it. Then now stir it very well, then serve it to them. Then The major thing that will equally help you to reduce the cost of feeding your animals is you as a farmer, you need to plant certain crops. Don't buy anything, don't buy everything from the market. If you keep on buying everything from the market, you will see yourself spending a lot in feeding these animals. You have to go into planting some crops like cassava, water leaf, spinach, pumpkin. Plant all these things. They will enable you to reduce the cost of feeding your animals, and they're equally very healthy and nutritious for them. So to understand this concept, because pigs, they don't really care about how much you bought their feed. No, what they really care about is if you actually meet their nutritional requirements. So the fact that you bought expensive feed for them doesn't really matter. What matters is the feed actually meeting up to the needs, to the nutritional needs that they require. That is the concept behind pig feed production. Because if at the end of the day, the feed that you formulated and then you can't make profit at the end of the day, that means you're just running around the cycle. You need to be able to make profits after raising your pigs. So you being able to manipulate and understand how to organize your feeding sector is going to help you a lot. I believe that with these few details that I've shared with you as to how I managed to reduce the cost of feeding my animals, that you can actually go and practice it in your farm. Yes, practice in your farm. As for this cassava, how I process this cassava, as I told you guys, I'm going to tell you how I process the cassava and the soybeans, because you don't just bring soybeans and give to them. No, me, I prefer to make use of the wet method for soybeans. No, there are two methods for processing these soybeans: the dry and the wet method. In the wet method, you have to just cook it to remove some poisonous substances. Then you can now feed it to the pigs. That's how I prefer making use of in my soybeans. Sometimes I can crush it as if I'm feeding the smaller animals. But for the bigger ones, once I just cook it, I will sieve out the water and then serve it to the animals. Then for the cassava, once you get the cassava, you have to soak it in water for some days. That's how I do it. Soak it in water for some days. Then now from there, give it to the animals. That's just it. It's just very simple. And then you see your pigs grow. But mind you, while you equally feeding your animals, make sure that you maintain good hygiene, because that's one of the ways you equally improve your pig farm. So guys, I believe that with this information that you'll be able to grow your pig farm and equally increase the growth rate in your pigs. So make sure you stay tuned to this channel and equally get more updates from me, because in the upcoming videos I'm going to talk about important aspects like the inbreeding, the housing sector, and so many other things, and equally make videos that would show you how to exactly do these things, how to exactly formulate this feed once I get to my farm. Okay, thank you very much, and God bless you all. Like I said, for you to set up your pig farm, you need to make sure that you set it in a place that is far away from residential areas.